Back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Nedbank Business Watch. This is the last segment of the program. We are now joined by Sifiso Nsibande, who is Treasury Sales Manager at Nedbank. He's going to give us an insight, break down today's market analysis. A very good afternoon, Sifiso. Thank you for coming through to Nedbank Business Watch. So let's start off with looking at the U.S. markets. What's happening in the U.S.? We saw President Donald Trump was threatening to go into war with Iran. What's happening there?
Yeah. Thanks, Lulu. Thanks for having me. Yes, so a lot of things actually happening in the U.S., causing volatility even in the markets. As you rightly said, there were some tensions that were brewing up in the U.S. when Trump was actually threatening to go into war with Iran because of issues around nuclear weapons that they are claiming that Iran currently possesses. But all of a sudden we saw a change, in the last few days when Trump then came back and said they are in serious talks with Iran. So the tensions then sort of eased because then people thought, okay, that means this thing is not going to precipitate into a war, but rather just a discussion because they are in talks, which means there might be some reaching of some agreements, we even saw the gold actually coming down because of that. The dollar was strengthening because of that. But guess what? Just yesterday, U.S. bombed an Iranian drone, which they are claiming that it was coming very close into their U.S. Aircraft carrier. In other words, they are saying it was in self-defense. The drone was not supposed to fly near the U.S. carrier. Okay. So that sort of returned the tensions once again. And we saw the dollar, starting again to actually come under pressure. So there's a lot of volatility in the markets because there's so many uncertainties. We are looking forward to a meeting on Friday, which it's going to be supposed to be the talks between Iran and the U.S. Now, we are not sure whether or not those meetings are going to happen, but it has been proposed for Friday, and it's supposed to take place in Turkey. But Iran is saying, no, they want it in Oman. So we don't know what eventually will be agreed and whether or not the meeting will be held. Otherwise, we are expecting the meeting to actually go on. I think it will sort of ease the tension that is currently being seen in the geopolitical arena.
Okay, just quickly coming back to Africa, neighboring country, South Africa, I understand, has put on hold interest rates. What's going on there? Yes,
so the South African Reserve Bank put interest rates on hold. And this was after they had seen the U.S. Also putting interest rates on hold. And I think the fundamentals sort of support that. It was largely expected that South Africa was going to put interest rates on hold. Okay. Because if you look at the rand, very strong. It's been very strong, for quite a while now. So it's moving in the right direction. Yes, there's fluctuation, but it's been hovering around the 15.9, 16.0205 area. So the fundamentals quite support. If you look at the inflation as well, the inflation has also been coming under checks, hovering around 3.3, 3.6%. So really, there isn't really any need, should I say, or incentive to be cutting interest at this point because everything is quite in check. But the reason why they were not even rushed in terms of effecting or cutting interest rates also is if you look at the electricity prices that are going to be coming into effect in April, that remains part of the risk that is still in South Africa, even though the energy availability factor has improved. If you remember, during the days of power cuts and load shedding in South Africa, that has sort of improved. So all the fundamentals are sort of encouraging the position that the South African Reserve Bank took to leave interest rates on hold. All right, in the interest of time, Sifi, so let's just take a look at equities this afternoon and see what's happening there. Yeah, so the equities, following the same volatility, you can see the S&P 500 in the U.S. actually came down, 0.84% you compare it to yesterday, simply because of what I've already highlighted, the uncertainty that's surrounding America. But I think we will see some improvement as we, move into the Friday meeting. And if it's held and if it's positive, there are sort of some agreements. We might see some improvements here. And also one of the things also that we actually saw, if you remember, the U.S. was threatening 100% tariffs on India for buying Russian oil. But recently we saw also that that talk also has improved. India is saying they're striking a trade deal with the U.S. So that sort of helps in terms of bringing stability in the financial markets. The FTSE as well. The FTSE also coming under pressure. A little bit because of uncertainty. Everything just moving around the tariffs here and there, and you never really know what's going to be actually agreed.
Okay.
And then coming home on the JSE, you can see an improvement there, mainly because about 20% of the JSE actually is influenced by the gold, should I say resources. So once gold starts improving, you do start seeing the JSE actually going up in value. So that's the reason why the JSE is actually positive.
Okay, move on to gold and Brent crude oil.
Yeah, so if you look at gold was actually at record high just last week, 5,200.
Okay.
Came back down when the sentiments improved in the U.S. But now that the U.S. has bombed the Iranian drone, we've seen gold go back up again because gold is considered a safe haven.
Yeah, as you said, yeah.
So if there's uncertainty, then people move into gold. That's the reason why it's at 5,000. And 5,000 is very high. I mean, this is something we haven't seen in a couple of years. Brent crude as well, because of the what is actually happening in Venezuela, that the U.S. is now tapping on the oil in Venezuela. We are actually seeing an improvement in the Brent crude price, and we're actually seeing this that is going to be consistent for the near future.
All right. So lastly, in currencies today, what's happening?
Yeah. So the dollar still coming under pressure. I mean, if you can see, 15.9 is something that you would not even have thought about at the beginning of last year or even mid last year. You would not have thought that gold would be trading at 15.98. But that's because of all the uncertainties that are happening in the market. And right now, it has actually come down under pressure because of mainly of what I've already highlighted in terms of the uncertainty between Iran and the U.S. I think if we have positive meetings coming out of the Friday one, maybe next week we'll start seeing a dollar strength.
Okay.
But I think the fundamentals also that are actually coming out of South Africa are also helping the rand to strengthen. And then if you look at the GBP, SZL, you can see that this is as a result of a strong rand more than just weakness in the other currencies. So the rand is relatively stronger even when you look at it against all the three major currencies because of the fundamentals that are actually supporting it. And we hope that this will be sustained into the near future.
All right. Thank you so much, Sifiso, for that analysis. Well, there you have it. This was the last segment of Nedbank Business Watch. It's 10 minutes before 3 p.m. Thank you for joining us. Worry not, if you've just tuned in, worry not, you can still watch this episode on our YouTube page. We'll see you next week at exactly 2 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously.